Ford is moving 4 factories back to the United States, along with 25,000 high-paying jobs.
This will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants. They were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places.
I made our most profitable auto company, and Ford is the most American auto company. We make 80+% of our vehicles here. And to your point, it's tough to tell right now.
Ford is now offering American customers employee pricing worth thousands of dollars from America for America deal. Ford, the most American auto company, is going to do right by them. We make the most cars here. We employ the most. We export the most. We here at Ford are in a good position to address customers' concern and give them a great deal. Although there's a rumor making rounds on social media, and it's gaining traction fast. Here, watch this. A viral image shared on Threads claims Ford is moving 4 of its factories back to the US, supposedly in response to President Donald Trump's recent tariffs. It claims Ford is relocating 4 major assembly plants and bringing back 25,000 jobs. Sounds dramatic, right? But here's the kicker. The whole thing started on a satirical website. That's right, not a press release, not a legitimate news outlet, not even a blog. A fake quote from a non-existent Ford spokesperson was all it took to set the internet ablaze. And yet, the truth is far less dramatic. But way more important. Ford's CEO insists that tariffs should remain in place for at least 3 years to give American manufacturers the stability and time needed to rebuild domestic supply chains and create sustainable jobs. Here, watch the full clip.
For the next couple of months, we're going to offer our customers the same deal that our employees get. And as you say, that's worth thousands of dollars. You come into our store, you get employee pricing. This is kind of to call a little bit of a timeout. We've heard some uncertainty from our customers, and we want them to be assured that Ford, the most American auto company, is going to do right by them, as are our dealers. We make the most cars here, we employ the most, we export the most. And so we here at Ford, we're in a good position to address customers' concern and give them a really great deal on a great vehicle.
We just heard is Ford, America's most iconic automaker, telling customers they're slashing prices and offering employees discounts across the board. Not for a week, not for a weekend sale, but for the next few months.
In April 2025, the Trump administration implemented a 25% tariff on imported vehicles and auto parts. This policy was part of a broader push to revive American manufacturing, a key political goal aimed at reversing decades of outsourcing and trade deficits in key industries, especially automotive. The idea was straightforward: increase the cost of foreign vehicles and components to encourage companies to build and buy more domestically. The hope was that tariffs would incentivize automakers to bring production back to the US and create thousands of manufacturing jobs. However, the reality turned out to be far more complex. While the tariffs were designed to protect American jobs, economists, industry experts, and automakers quickly highlighted unintended consequences. The U.S. auto industry has a highly globalized supply chain. Many components used in manufacturing vehicles are sourced worldwide. For example, parts such as semiconductors, specialized wiring, steel, aluminum, and even certain electronic components are often made in countries with lower production costs or more specialized suppliers. Imposing tariffs dramatically increased the cost of assembling vehicles domestically, because automakers had to pay higher prices for imported parts or find costly alternatives. This challenged the initial assumption that tariffs would straightforwardly benefit American jobs. Recognizing the economic stress these tariffs placed on the auto industry, the administration took steps to ease the burden. Temporary exemptions and reimbursements were offered, especially for key raw materials like steel and aluminum, which are essential in vehicle manufacturing. These exemptions were critical. Steel and aluminum tariffs had caused price spikes that threatened to make American cars significantly less competitive compared to imports. By softening these tariffs, the government provided automakers with some breathing room, allowing them to rethink supply chains without incurring immediate crippling costs. This back and forth reflected the delicate balance policymakers had to strike between protecting domestic jobs and ensuring the auto industry's economic viability in a highly competitive global market. So, what did Ford Motor Company do in response to this shifting landscape? They didn't leave the US. They didn't move 4 plants back overnight. They didn't bring 25,000 jobs home in a single swoop. Instead, Ford took a strategic and methodical approach, balancing the challenges posed by tariffs with a long-term vision for growth. Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, welcomed the tariff relief measures, saying they helped level the playing field for American automakers. Farley highlighted that more than 80% of Ford vehicles sold in the U.S. are already assembled domestically, underscoring the company's commitment to the American workforce. Here, watch the clip.
Well, first of all, Ford is really different. We make 80% in the U.S., more than any other manufacturer. In fact, we made 400,000 more vehicles than our next competitor, and that would fill up the entire island of Manhattan. That's how big of a gap we've made. So, look, we think this is really great for the country. We really support the president's initiative. We never left the America on car production, and so this moderation is reasonable, I think, for mostly our competitors. They need more time, but at Ford, we're in good shape. And this is the right thing to do. We really appreciate the dialogue we've had with the president, but we have a lot more work to do with him and the team.
Ford and the automotive industry are navigating a pivotal moment marked by several transformative forces. The imposition of tariffs and ongoing trade negotiations have altered how automakers approach global supply chains. Companies are weighing the benefits of overseas production against the risks and costs introduced by tariffs and geopolitical uncertainties. As consumers increasingly demand cleaner, more sustainable transportation options, Ford has committed billions toward electric vehicle production, investing heavily in states like Tennessee and Michigan. This transition to EVs requires new manufacturing techniques and creates opportunities for new jobs, but also introduces uncertainty as the industry adjusts. Consumers and governments alike expect automakers to prioritize sustainability. Ford is responding by embracing new technologies, advanced software for autonomous driving, and more environmentally friendly production practices. Ford's approach is not to retreat from these challenges, but to confront them head-on with a clear focus on resilience and innovation. Despite their commitment to the U.S., Ford acknowledges the difficulties ahead. Tariffs, while intended to boost domestic production, increase operational costs. Competitors, especially those operating without tariffs or in countries with lower costs, may undercut pricing, creating additional pressure. Furthermore, Ford and other automakers rely heavily on small, complex components: wiring looms, fasteners, specialized plastics, carpets, many of which are hard to produce cost-effectively in the U.S. Farley was candid about this reality. If we made those parts here, it would make the car a couple $1,000s more expensive. This is a crucial point because car prices are highly sensitive to production costs. Raising prices significantly could hurt sales and make domestic production unsustainable. To manage these complexities, Ford is employing several creative strategies. Ford is actively engaging with policymakers to secure exemptions for critical small components, aiming to reduce cost pressures without compromising domestic jobs. By rerouting some imports through Canada, Ford minimizes exposure to tariffs due to existing trade agreements, lowering overall costs. Ford has temporarily halted some exports to China amid escalating trade tensions, reflecting a cautious approach to global markets amid uncertainty. Exploring new U.S.-based suppliers for components is a long-term effort to strengthen the domestic supply chain, though it will take years to fully realize. The tariffs are not just an operational headache. They have significant financial consequences. Ford expects the tariffs to cost the company approximately $2.5 billion in 2025, with $1.5 billion of that hit coming in the current year alone. This uncertainty and financial strain have led Ford to suspend its full-year financial forecast. As one executive remarked, "We're not even going to guess where this is headed." Such caution reflects the broader volatility faced by the industry amid changing trade policies, technological disruption, and economic fluctuations. Amid all these challenges, Ford remains firmly committed to the U.S. Currently, Ford operates 24 plants across the country. It employs the most hourly workers of any automaker in America. Ford produces more vehicles domestically than any competitor, and it holds the title of America's largest vehicle exporter. Ford spokesperson Dan Barbosa summed it up plainly. "We have 24 plants in the U.S., employ the most U.S. hourly employees, produce the most vehicles in America, and are America's largest vehicle exporter. Ford is also building 2 new plants in the U.S., signaling confidence in the country's manufacturing future. When asked about moving more production from Mexico back to the U.S., for example, the popular Ford Maverick pickup currently built in Hermosillo, Farley emphasized that such decisions are made on a 20-year horizon. This means Ford is focused on sustainable, long-term investments, rather than reacting to short-term political changes or viral rumors. Ford seeks stability and predictability from policy, so it can plan effectively, invest wisely, and support American workers over decades, not quarters. Ford's story is deeply tied to the broader story of America. Founded in 1903, the company revolutionized manufacturing with the assembly line, transforming transportation and industrial production worldwide. Over a century later, Ford remains a symbol of American innovation, manufacturing excellence, and blue-collar labor. Farley's conversations with the administration reaffirmed this heritage. What I learned is that I think Trump is very committed to building more jobs like these in America. I mean, these are the best of the best, hourly jobs you can find in America. The company's investments in electric and autonomous vehicles promise to create thousands of new, skilled, high-paying jobs, reshaping the workforce for a modern era. Ford's challenges are multifaceted: tariffs, global trade tensions, a shifting industry landscape, and the enormous investments needed to lead in EVs and advanced technology. But one thing is clear: Ford isn't scrambling or panicking. They're adjusting, investing, and waiting for the dust to settle. The automotive giant understands that the future requires patience, innovation, and a strong domestic base, and they're committed to both. So the next time you see a viral post claiming Ford is fleeing America or rushing back due to political pressure, remember this: take a step back, ask for sources, look for real quotes. Don't settle for satire disguised as fact.